I'm happy to have Philipp Steiner here as the one, starting the second part. Philipp is from Austria. He started to write creatively in 2017 during a semester abroad at Hendrix College, USA. His favorite genres are science fiction and horror. Aside from literature, his other great passion is to create music with his bandmates from AeonNihilation and Grey Skies Ahead. He is currently pursuing a PhD in English and American Studies at the University of Graz. And he's also working on his debut novel, Die Kerze des Prometheus, The Candle of Prometheus. And Philipp has already published various texts in Tint, and today he will share one that has not yet been published. So I'm really excited for this one. Philipp, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Lisa. So before I'm going to start to read my story, I just want to give you like a very quick introduction to the context of the story. Because it is a bit of a fragmented short story tale that consists, for example, of epistolary passages, but also of diary entries. So this story, The Old Typewriter, is about a retired author in his 90s who is living in a nursing home during the Corona crisis. And it is meant to depict 1 week in the life of this old author, which is then depicted in the form of epistolary passages, diary entries, but also in the form of an essay and a poem. And I'm going to read some parts of this story now. Okay, hope you enjoy it. The Old Typewriter. Dear George, here I sit at my desk and write another letter to you. I'm well aware, just like the 100 times before, that I could simply tell you about these things in a normal conversation. After all, you are my beloved son, who takes it upon himself to receive these letters written in my dusty, tiny apartment and to deliver them to my addressees. For this courier service, I'm immensely thankful. The feeling that I'm only able to express in the form of a letter. That is just the way it is with us old literary types. We're able to create fantastic fictional worlds filled with colorful characters who live interesting lives, who love, fight, die. All of this only with the tools of pen and paper. Yet the world outside of our books is a strange place to us. Interpersonal contact, to stand in front of you and thank you face to face, for that I lack both courage and words. Even in old age, this hasn't changed, especially not in these dire times, when the old and sick are hardly able to see their loved ones. It is all for our safety, they say, but what is the worth of my existence if I cannot share its joys with those who mean the world to me? How long is it now that my dear Elizabeth died lonely in her chamber? She is now separated from me forever. How many days more do I have to stay in this cage? It already feels like I've spent decades in the confines of this little room. And so skepticism regarding my own existence and the world outside emerges within my mind. Have I ever really left this barren dwelling composed of one dusty window, a stained desk on which my trusty typewriter resides, an old cupboard made from dark acorn, a small gray bed, and a tiny bathroom? Was I perhaps even born in this place, doomed to take both my first and final breath in here? No, I know that can't be true. After all, I have a son and granddaughters out there in this brave new world. The outside must exist, and I must have breathed the fresh air of its freedom at some point. Otherwise, how would I know of its existence? I'm lonely, George. After all, my household help, Berta, cannot be counted as good company. She only rushes through the room silently, her face masked, cleans what needs to be cleaned, and places unbearable muck in front of me when it's lunchtime. Then she disappears again, out into the great wide world. George, I would be tremendously happy if you could bring along my granddaughters sometime. I do miss their youthful, naive cheerfulness. Please pay me a visit with your little princesses next time. Your father, Maximilian Reiner, November 15th, 2021. The Diary of Maximilian Reiner, November 18th, 2021. Just now, something strange has happened. Only a few minutes ago, my son George visited me. Joyfully, I welcomed him, ready to embrace him with a warm hug and a cup of peppermint tea. But he only sighed behind his mask, shook his head, and signaled to me with a harsh gesture and a strict expression in his hazelnut brown eyes to keep the safety distance. "How are you, father?" he said, and went past me to the table to grab the bundle of letters waiting there. "It is all written in this letter," I answered, slightly demoralized because of this loveless greeting, and pointed at the letter at the top addressed to George Reiner. "But father, why so many?" he asked with a stinging sadness in his voice. "Well, I have started writing again. After all, an old man still needs some kind of occupation." Without a word, George took the letters, put them into the pocket of his brown tweed jacket, and put a bundle of banknotes in its stead on the table. "So, how are my two lovely granddaughters?" I inquired. "I'm sorry, I seem not to be able to remember their names just now. You know, at my age." "The money is for Berta, for her shopping expenses," said George, completely ignoring my question. "But they're doing well, aren't they? Please tell me they are fine. And what were their names again? I'm so sorry." "Yeah, they are fine," came his short and dry answer. "For what? You're going to forget their names anyway." That, I stuttered, my voice trembling. "That is unfair. You should behave more respectfully towards your dear old father." George nodded. A sad expression lay again on his shrouded face. Then he just turned around and made his way towards the door. "Please deliver these letters. They are of great importance to me. And please, also read yours. This is indeed most important," I pleaded, whilst I shuffled along behind him. "I know, father, I know," he murmured, and with these words he left my little world again. Not even 5 minutes after he had entered it. At the desk next to me is the cup of peppermint tea that I offered to him. It is still warm. Dear ladies and gentlemen from the newspaper Die Presse, attached you will find my lyrical submission for your writing contest on the topic of freedom. I hope that you will find it to be a riveting read. Gray Birds, a poem. Freedom, a lady in black, she who watches over liberated souls. The blade, double-edged and sharp, the tip shines, reflecting the light of hope. An end that justifies all means, yet often is the means of darkest ends. Freedom yearns the human heart everywhere, at all times. Like birds, we all aspire to be, to spread our wings, to feel sapphire's breath in our feathers, to bathe in the warmth of the sun, floating above all else. Yet some believe that we all birds have tired of roaming the bright blue sky, contently resting in the golden cage. Wrong is this depressing view. We gray birds too like to lift ourselves into the air, relish liberation from earthly despair, love to have our heads high in the clouds, and enjoy the contact with the newly fledged crowd when we fly with the rest of the swarm towards the splendid south. Okay, I'm done. Just tiny detail. Thank you very much.